Are you really sure that your happiness is somewhere in the future? In the next job, the next car, that dream trip, or when you finally meet the right person? If your answer is yes, let me be clear. You've been misled. And today, I'm going to share a truth with you that most people never dare to say out loud. Get ready. It may feel uncomfortable, but it's exactly that discomfort that can set you free. The biggest illusion you've been sold is the idea that happiness is a prize you earn after suffering, after achievements, after a lifetime of perseverance. But tell me, how many times have you finally got there, only to realize it wasn't that special after all? It's counterintuitive, I know. You spend years with obsessive thoughts, convinced you'll only be happy when... And when that when finally arrives, the emptiness is still there, sitting quietly inside you. And that's exactly why you need to stay until the end of this video. Because I'm going to reveal, without filters, the real reason you keep chasing the future and never truly live in the present. If you have the courage to listen, this might be the first step to completely turning your life around. So stay with me. He always thought he just wanted a simple, peaceful life. But deep down, what he truly longed for burned like fire in his chest. A victory that would prove to himself he wasn't born for mediocrity. Fear tried to silence that calling, feeding him obsessive thoughts of failure, suffering, and weakness. But instead of giving up, he learned to turn that fear into fuel. It was like standing at the edge of a cliff. Either he jumped, or he would spend the rest of his life wondering what could have been. He remembered the day he nearly lost everything in a car accident. In just seconds, his whole life flashed before his eyes. And in that moment, he realized, no diploma, no excuse, no mindless routine would ever matter without the courage to truly live. That shocking experience taught him something crucial. Your will to act cannot be postponed, because tomorrow is never promised. Perseverance isn't just a nice word. It's the line between merely existing out of obligation and actually building the life you want. When someone finally faces what they truly want to achieve, the world stops being gray. Every breath becomes a reminder that time is short and there's so much to be done. Distractions turn into poison, and even fear takes on a new meaning. No longer barriers, but invitations. And yet, one uncomfortable question always lingers. Without realizing it, is he still stuck on autopilot, living as if time were infinite? He started to realize that most of his life was running on autopilot. Wake up, rush to work, eat whatever for lunch, come back home exhausted. And the next day, repeat the same cycle. It felt like living in a loop, with no room for victory or real achievement, just surviving through silent suffering. That cycle fueled obsessive thoughts that he was wasting his time, and deep down, he knew it was true. That's when he decided to simplify. He chose one area of his life that was draining his energy without him noticing: social media. Hours scrolling through feeds, comparing himself to polished lives, feeding the fear of never measuring up. So he set strict limits, 30 minutes a day only for the essentials. And with the time he gained back, he started reading books that expanded his mind, like Essentialism by Greg McKeown and Atomic Habits by James Clear. Small changes, but enough to let perseverance take root. Interestingly, once he simplified one choice, others started falling into place on their own. Cutting down digital overload made him sleep better, think more clearly, and sparked the will to act on projects he had shelved for years. This new discipline brought an inner victory no amount of likes could ever give. But this experience raised another uncomfortable question. What if the key to breaking free from autopilot is facing the very small actions that scare us the most? He learned that some of life's biggest victories don't come from giant leaps, but from small actions that seem impossible. And one of the scariest was looking into the eyes of someone he loved, but who made him suffer, and saying, enough. The fear of emptiness, of loneliness, of external judgment was paralyzing. But staying trapped in that cycle of suffering meant losing himself completely. The simple act of walking away was both the most painful and the most liberating victory. He knew a woman who had lived for years in an abusive relationship. She said she had obsessive thoughts every night. What if I never find anyone else? What if I'm not enough? Until one day she did the unthinkable. She packed her things and left, even while trembling with fear. At first it felt like the end of the world, but soon she realized she had gained something greater than any relationship: the chance to start over. That action, small and enormous at the same time, was the beginning of a life built on perseverance. It's strange how the brain tries to convince you that it's safer to stay trapped, even when the prison itself hurts. But life doesn't reward those who settle. It leans toward those who dare to act. And once you finally find the courage to break free, you realize the fear was nothing but smoke and mirrors. The will to act grows, and the future opens up with possibilities. Still, past regrets keep circling, begging to be redefined. He once carried the weight of regrets that felt unbearable. In the silence of the night, they came back as obsessive thoughts. Every wrong choice, every harsh word, every opportunity missed. It was a suffering that ate him alive. But over time, he realized that every scar was also a map. Instead of being a sentence, regret was actually preparation for something greater. Fear that once paralyzed him now became fuel for victory. He remembered when he turned down the chance to study abroad because he didn't have the courage. For years he blamed himself, convinced that opportunity would never return. But that pain pushed him to dive into books, to learn languages on his own, and to build connections that, years later, opened even bigger doors. That regret, in truth, became fertile ground. Life seemed to be saying, "You weren't ready back then, but now you are." That's what perseverance really is. Understanding that failures are just rehearsals. It's as if every regret is a strict teacher, demanding a high price, but leaving behind lessons you'll never forget. Once he started to see things this way, he stopped punishing himself and began using the past as a tool. The fear of repeating mistakes never disappeared, but it turned into fuel. And with that, a new question kept knocking every day. Was he still playing it safe in the average, or preparing himself for the extraordinary? He realized too late that living average is dying slowly. It's getting used to less, smiling out of obligation, accepting crumbs and calling it life. Fear becomes an excuse, suffering turns into routine, and obsessive thoughts scream in the silence. Is this really all you wanted out of your existence? Playing it safe feels comfortable, but it's also the greatest act of cowardice. Because deep down, everyone knows they were born for more. They just pretend not to hear it. He once met a man who said, "I'd rather not take the risk. What if it goes wrong?" Months later, that same man was in tears because he missed the chance to invest in a business that is now worth millions. And it wasn't about the money. It was about courage, about victory, about true achievement. While some hide and tremble, others persevere and write history. Those who settle for average eventually realize they've lost not only opportunities, but their very identity. Playing for the extraordinary isn't luxury. It's an obligation to your own soul. It means waking up with the will to act, not to please others, but to honor the life you were given. It's knowing that every choice is a vote. Do you want to be remembered as someone who settled, or as someone who tore through autopilot and won? Because in the end, the real question isn't, what if I fail? It's, what if I spend my whole life hiding behind fear? So tell me, how long will you keep believing in that illusion that happiness will show up someday? How many more mornings will you waste, trapped in fear, in suffering, in obsessive thoughts that only paralyze you? Life doesn't wait. Every choice you make is a vote. Stay stuck in average or claim the extraordinary. Now the decision is yours. Will you watch this video, nod in silence, and go back to autopilot? Or will you use this as a trigger to act, here and now? Because if you change nothing, nothing changes. But if you have the courage to take even one small step, perseverance will take care of the rest. And before you leave, I want to challenge you. If this message stirred something inside you, if you felt it was exactly what you needed to hear, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. That way, every new video will be a reminder that your life can and should be extraordinary.